Hand this agent a quick function like divide A, B, return slash B, and seconds later it warns you that it crashes on a zero, flags the missing checks, and suggests the fixes, a full review from a single model call. Let us build it from scratch and see exactly how it pulls that off. Hey, hi, welcome to Codecta, your tutor agent. Today we will learn how to build an AI code review agent. Before we write a single line, let us look at the whole journey one piece of code takes through this agent. On the far left, you hand in some code, a file on your computer, or a snippet you paste in. It flows into the review agent, which is the heart of the program. Inside, GPT-4o reads your code and turns it into a set of findings. And those findings come back out as a written review printed in your terminal. So the big picture is simple. Code goes in on one side, a clear review comes out the other. Now let us walk through each step one at a time. Everything starts here, with the code you want reviewed. You run the program from your terminal, the text window where you type commands to your computer, and point it at either a file on your disk or a snippet you type in directly. This is the raw material. The agent cannot review anything until you give it something to look at. Notice that nothing clever happens yet. We are simply collecting the code, so the next stage has something real to work with. Now here is the part that does the real thinking. Your code is handed to GPT-4o, a large language model from OpenAI. A language model is a program trained on huge amounts of text and code, so it can read your snippet and reason about it the way an experienced engineer would. We do not handwrite the review rules ourselves. Instead, we ask the model to read the code and tell us what is wrong and what could be better. This is the single most important step in the whole flow. The model does not just reply with a vague opinion. We ask it to organize its answer into clear categories: bugs, security problems, performance, code style, and suggested improvements, and to give an overall quality rating. So what comes out of this stage is a structured review, not a wall of random text. That structure is what makes it feel like a real code review instead of a chatbot guessing, and these findings are the actual value the agent produces. Finally, the finished review is printed back to your terminal with a clear header so it is easy to read. This is the moment you were waiting for. You started by handing in some code, and now you are reading a full review of it. And that is the entire loop: input on the left, a written review on the right, with the model doing the actual analysis in the middle. Now that we can see the shape of it, let us look at the tools we will use to build it. This agent runs on Python, and we lean on argparse to read the command line, LangChain to build the system and human messages, LangChain OpenAI to reach the model, GPT-4o as the actual reviewer, and Python_.env to load our secret key from a file. Now we move on to requirements.txt. Let's walk through it together. Before any code runs, we need to tell Python which outside packages this project depends on, and a package or library is simply reusable code that other people have already written and shared, so we do not have to build everything from scratch. That list of packages is exactly what requirements.txt is, one library per line. Without it, anyone who downloads this project would have to guess what to install and might grab the wrong versions and hit strange errors. The double equal sign pins each package to an exact version. So LangChain equals 0.3.0 means install version 0.3.0, not whatever happens to be newest. These first three lines are the LangChain family. LangChain is the framework that ties the pieces together. LangChain core gives us building blocks like the message types. And LangChain OpenAI is the adapter that lets LangChain talk to OpenAI's models. The last dependency is Python_.env. Its one job is to read a special file called .env and load whatever is inside it into your environment variables. We will see exactly why that matters in a moment. We pin it to version 1.0.1 for the same reason as the others, so the project behaves the same on every machine. Once this file is saved, a single command, pip install.rrequirements.txt, installs all 4 packages at once. Now we move on to .env. Let's walk through it together. To use GPT-4o, OpenAI needs to know who is calling, and it checks that with an API key, a long secret password tied to your account. We must never paste that key straight into our code, because if we share the code, we share the key, and anyone could run up charges on our account. So instead, we put it in a file called .env, which holds settings as simple name equals value pairs. Here the name is OpenAI_API_key, and the value is a placeholder you will swap for your real key. An environment variable, by the way, is just a named value that lives outside your program in the surrounding system. which is a safe place to keep a secret. This file stays on your own machine and out of the code you share. On to agent.py now. We'll take it step by step. Now we start the real program, and the first thing any Python file does is gather the tools it needs, which we do with import statements. Import argparse pulls in Python's built-in library for reading command line arguments. Those are the extra words you type after the program name, like dash dash file. Without argparse, we would have to pick apart that raw terminal text by hand, which is fiddly and easy to get wrong, so it saves us real work. Import OS brings in Python's standard module for talking to the operating system, including its environment variables, that is the place our secret key will live once we load it. Next, we bring in the outside packages we just installed. The from import form means reach into this package and grab only the specific piece I name. So we take load_.env, a function that will read our .env file. We take human message and system message, two classes. A class is a reusable template for building objects, and an object is just a bundle of data with the actions that belong to it, that represent the two kinds of message we will send to the model. And we take chat OpenAI, the class that actually connects to OpenAI and runs the model. Grabbing just these names keeps our code short, so we can write chat OpenAI instead of the full package path every single time. This single line looks tiny, but do not skip it. Calling load_.env runs the function we just imported, and it reads every name equals value pair from the .env file and loads them into the program's environment variables. So right after this line runs, our OpenAI_API_key is sitting ready in the environment, even though it never appears anywhere in our code. That is the whole point. The secret stays in the .env file, and the model library will quietly pick it up from the environment when it needs it. This prompt is pretty large, so instead of typing it all out, I'll paste it and break it down. Here we define the instructions we will give the model, stored in a variable 9 that holds a value, so we can reuse it later, called system_prompt. The triple quotes let us write a long message that spans many lines. Read it, and you will see it is basically the full set of instructions that spells out our reviewer's role. It tells the model to act as an expert code reviewer and to check 5 specific things: bugs, security issues, performance, code style, and improvements. And then to format the answer in Markdown, a simple way of adding headings and bullets using plain text, and give an overall rating. This is the part that turns a general-purpose model into a focused code reviewer. By spelling out exactly what to look for, we get a consistent, structured review every time instead of a different shape of answer on each run. Now we build the reusable heart of the program. The def keyword starts a function, a named block of code we can run whenever we want, so we never have to repeat ourselves. This one is called review_code, and it accepts two inputs in the brackets: code, the text to review, and language, which defaults to Python if the caller does not say otherwise. The little string notes are type hints, gentle reminders that these values are text, and the gives back string after the brackets says this function hands back text too. Inside, the first thing we do is create our model client, the object that will actually talk to GPT-4o for us with chat OpenAI. We pick the GPT-4o model and we set temperature equals 0, which controls randomness. 0 means the model answers as consistently as possible, which is exactly what you want for a serious review rather than creative writing. With the model ready, we prepare what we are going to send it. The square brackets make a list, an ordered collection, holding two messages. The first is a system message carrying our system_prompt. A system message sets the rules and role the model should follow. The second is a human message, which represents what the user is asking, and here it wraps the actual code. The little f before the quote makes it an f string, which lets us drop variables straight into the text inside the curly braces. So language and code get replaced with the real values. For our example, code becomes the divide function we want reviewed. We even fence the code in triple backticks, the markdown way of marking a code block. so the model can clearly see where the code starts and ends. Now we actually call the model. Calling llm.invoke messages sends our two messages over the internet to OpenAI servers. That is what an API call is. Your program asking another company's program to do some work and send the result back. We wait for GPT-4o to read the code and write its review, and the whole reply lands in response. That reply is a rich object with several fields, but we only care about the text, so we return response.content, handing the clean review string back to whoever called this function. The return keyword is simply how a function gives its answer back to the caller. So we have our reviewing engine. Now we need the part that talks to the user, and that is main, the function that runs when you start the program. The first thing it does is create an argument parser from the argparse library we imported earlier. This object is the thing that will read and make sense of whatever you typed after the program name. The description text is just a friendly summary that shows up if the user asks for help. We store this parser in a variable so we can keep adding rules to it on the next lines. Here we set up the two ways to give the agent something to review. We make a mutually exclusive group, which is a precise way of saying the user may pick one of these, but not both at the same time, and required equals true means they must pick exactly one, not is the program will not run with nothing to review. Then we add the two options, dash dash file, where you give a path to a file on your disk, and dash dash code, where you paste a snippet directly. The help text next to each is the short description shown on the help screen. This design is friendly because it gently forces the user into a valid choice instead of letting them make a confusing mistake. We add one more option, dash dash language, so the user can tell the agent which programming language the code is in. Notice the default equals Python. If the user does not pass this flag at all, it quietly falls back to Python. So the option is there when you need it, but never gets in a way. Then comes the important line, parser.parse_args actually reads everything the user typed, checks it against all the rules we just defined, and hands back a tidy object we call args variable, where args variable.file, args variable.code, and args variable.language hold the values. If the user types something invalid, argparse stops right here and prints a helpful error for us, which is work we did not have to write ourselves. Now we figure out where the code actually comes from. The if checks whether the user gave us a file path. If they did, we open that file. The with form is the safe way to open files because it automatically closes the file once we are done, even if something goes wrong, and f.read pulls the entire contents into our code variable. If there was no file, the else branch runs instead, and we simply take the snippet from args variable.code. Either way, by the end of this block, the variable code holds the text to be reviewed. The two print lines just show a friendly status message, so the user knows what is being reviewed. The magnifying glass is only there to make the output nicer to look at. This is the moment everything has been leading to. We call our review_code function, passing in the code we just gathered, and the args variable.language the user chose. Control jumps into that function, the model does its work, and the finished review text comes back and gets stored in a variable called review. In one short line, we have connected the user-facing part of the program to the reviewing engine we built earlier. That is the real payoff of putting the logic in its own function. All that is left is to show the result nicely. Equals 60 is a neat Python trick. Multiplying a piece of text by a number repeats it, so this prints a line of 60 equal signs as a divider. We print one divider, then a clear code review heading, then another divider, and finally the review itself. Wrapping the output in these lines makes it stand out in the terminal so the user can immediately spot where the review begins. And with that, the user sees exactly what they came for. This last little block is a classic Python pattern, and it controls when main runs. Every Python file has a hidden variable called main, and when you run a file directly, Python sets that variable to the text main. So this line reads as, if this file is being run directly, then call main and start everything. The benefit is that if some other file ever imports this one just to reuse review underscore code, main will not fire on its own. It only runs when you actually launch this file yourself. It is the clean, single entry point for the whole program. Let us follow one real run from the very first instruction. Say example.py holds a tiny function, def divide a, b, return a/b, and you run python agent.py -- file example.py and press enter. Python reads our file top to bottom, defining the system prompt in both functions along the way, then reaches this guard at the bottom. Because we launched the file directly, name equals main, so the condition is true and Python calls main. That one call kicks off everything else. Now we are inside main. The parser we configured earlier springs into action here. Parser.parse_args looks at what you typed, sees the -- file example.py, checks it against our rules, and packs the result into the args variable object. From this point on, args variable.file holds the path example.py, and args variable.language holds Python, because we never passed that flag. Your command has now become plain variables our code can use. Next, control reaches this if by else. Because we used -- file, args variable.file has a value, so the if branch runs. We open example.py, read its full contents, our little divide function, into the code variable, then print a short reviewing message. Had we used -- code instead, the else branch would have grabbed the snippet directly. Either path ends the same way, with the code variable holding the text we're about to review. Here is a handoff. Main calls review underscore code and passes it two things. The code is just loaded, and the language from args variable.language. Control now leaves main and jumps into the review underscore code function we wrote earlier. Whatever that function returns will come straight back and be stored in review. So main is essentially pausing here, waiting for the review to be produced. Inside review underscore code, the messages are already built, and this line does the real work. llm.invoke messages sends the system prompt and our divide function across the internet to GPT-4o and waits for the reply, which arrives in response. We immediately return response.content, the plain review text, the warning that the function crashes when you divide by 0, plus the suggested fixes. That value travels straight back to the line in main that called us, lands in the review variable, and a moment later is printed to the screen. That is the full path from your command through the model to the review on your terminal. Before we can run anything, we install the 4 packages we listed. The command pip install.rrequirements.txt tells pip, Python's package installer, to read our requirements file and download every dependency in it at the exact version we pinned. You only need to do this once on each machine. Now the real thing. We launched the agent and pointed at a file with -- file example.py, which here holds that small divide function. The program reads the file, sends it to GPT-4o with our review instructions, and prints the structured review right in the terminal. It catches the missing 0 division check, notes the lack of input validation, and suggests type hints and a clear error, exactly as we asked. You can also pass code in line with -- code, and swapping in any file path gives you an instant code reviewer on your own machine. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe so that I can improve myself and teach you better.